Today we're going to do a real simple thought experiment. None of this is real, none of it's factual. It is not based in any form of reality. So let's say you find a rock carving in the ground, and it looks like that thing there, where it looks like somebody stuck a stick in the ground of a specific length. You'd have to know what it is. Yes, that's almost like an Indiana Jones reference. Might be really critically important. And you see a straight line and a line above and below it if you were looking north to south, and the one above it might curve that way, or they might all curve the same way. But the point is, you see three distinct lines, and the center line that would be probably fairly straight or very straight will be closer to or further from the south curved line. And if you're below the equator, it'll be the exact opposite, or maybe the stick will be right in the middle, just saying. So now if you did this form of early and even current solar observation, you might use it as a timer, because obviously I'm talking about a sundial, and obviously this would be a way to tell what time of year it is, or at least solar time of year. Now let's say you wanted to make it into a shorthand, like a symbol. So unfortunately my browser is refusing to accept keyboard functions, so we'll just do this. So there you see a symbol, and that symbol on the top would be assumed to be the North Star or something, or just indicate north, and that would give you a diagram. Now obviously if you scratch that on a piece of paper or a piece of wood and drew it like that, it would get distorted over time, but the symbology would be probably something you'd notice. It might not be a six-legged lizard poorly drawn by a group of people, Native Americans, that knew how to draw a freaking lizard, but okay, let's go on with this. Let's just look at this again. Depending on where this line is located, that would tell you how far north or south of the equator you are. And if it was done really precisely, in fact, if it was on purpose done on a large scale, like a 6 foot across one, hint, hint, that might give you the ability to figure out exactly what part of the world it's referring to, or what time. Yes. Also, this isn't just a symbol for the North Star. It might be a symbol for your local patterning of a very unique thing you can notice. You see, that 5-pointed star-like item wouldn't indicate necessarily, not necessarily, but maybe it would indicate, kind of, sort of, that you have figured out Polaris star, or more accurately, whatever was the North Pole star that millennia. And you might have been indicating that over the last 10 years, this is the standard pattern for your interpretation of the year, because the Earth processes very slowly over time, and it does change where the North Star is, which one it is, and also which position the Dipper is in relation to what day of the year. And it progresses slowly enough that you might be able to look at that if it was drawn, I don't know, another, for the heck of it, a 6 foot across version of it drawn on a wall someplace, looking like a non-symmetrical 5-pointed star. Emphasis very much added. With what looks like, you could say it looks like a swastika, but it has 5 points. So if any of you are out there chiseling away at something to destroy a symbol you think means something because you're triggered, please stop chiseling. We might need that really, really badly in a few years. Or maybe, like, literally right now, might need it. Now, here's the thing. What if you saw 2 of them next to each other, but they were different positionings relative to each other? That might indicate the time we saw something in the past, and then the next one would be the time you need to pay attention and get busy very far in the future. Because that's a time and date stamp. It's not a symbol of religious blah blah. I don't know if you notice this, but archaeologists are notorious for saying anything they can identify has to symbolize something religious or cultural. It is never anything I don't know. They won't say I don't know about anything, but they say, that's probably a good catch-all. But let's just say, for just a teensy-weensy period of time, that people in the past were really, really, really interested in the time of year they should plant things and harvest things, and when they should expect it to be cold or warm, and maybe using this as an identifier for their physical location on the planet, because if you use this within the last 10 years and you got that angle exactly drawn out, that would tell someone exactly where you are on Earth by that angle. The clock face looking thing on the left, that indicates where you say you're seeing the Big Dipper hit the ground in your area. It would tell us how far north or south of the equator you are. And it would also tell us, because of the angle of the 5 points, where on Earth you are to within maybe 100 miles. So we would know what region you're from by this symbol, if you chose to do it like that. In fact, if you did it some other way, we could still figure it out, because it would be a perspective you'd have on Earth at a specific point, because the Earth is freaking round. Now, here's the fun part about it. That line over here, again, this one would also say how far you are away from the equator. If this is dead even, that means you're on the equator. So we already got that figured out. And this would also, by height, if you drew it with a line, tell us how far you are from the equator. And where this one is positioned on the rosette here would tell us, unless we were using a bad interpretation, where you are, latitude and longitude. That'd be really freaking handy if you were trying to identify a location. But this is the point. If you know where it is because it's chiseled in stone, and you notice it doesn't match the location currently, you know it must be the past. And if you know it's in the past, you'll be able to figure out how many hundreds and maybe even thousands of years ago that somebody did that rock carving. Now, here's the fun part. Again, if somebody was trying to tell you, hey, watch out for this giant frickin' rock in the future, they might put one like this, and they put another one over to the side that's slightly different to tell you the time difference. So you'd know when it might happen. And if for some reason, instead of this, they showed you one that was a little bit different of positioning, and a different one, obviously, for the time and date stamp, that might tell you the exact location or whatever of a place on Earth. So this can act as a time and date stamp and a GPS. Literally, time and place. This is a time-space signature. Now, I want you to combine this all together. You start off trying to figure out, when you're going to have to plant and when you're going to have to, harvest. And you might even use it if you're really, really smart to tell other shamans, where you're from. You might have this tattooed. They'll know where you are from. Even if you're only North and South California, it would be slightly different. And what if you found these all over the planet, all showing a time and date stamp that can't exist in the past, but can exist now or maybe in the near future? If I saw somebody writing down the year 2055, April 14th, 3 p.m. exactly, I'd be a little curious why the fuck that is happening, and that might freak me out a little bit. Just saying. So anyway, I'm not saying that this would be a universal rock carving or anything. If somebody had a real warning to give you, if you were going to have your own pet theory on what all this does, but what all this means. But I am saying if somebody was trying to warn you, and people figured it out, some ancient cultures, they would try to do it in such a way that somebody studying the stars, because that's the only timer we really have, and the sun, the best timer we have for the daily, I'm sure they would try to write down a time and date stamp someplace. So you might want to look through a bunch of old catalogs on rock carvings and cave paintings to see if anybody did anything really, really suspiciously just like this. Now anyway, the Chumash population were obviously very interested in studying the stars and everything, and it's not like I noticed that any of this is off by literally X number of 100 years and points to some specific time and date stamp. I mean, I can't figure it out. I'd have to have physical access to it to get a good idea. I just noticed that there's a pattern here. You might want to look in some of the other cultures. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. We need the luck.